Lori Parlin, before I start, I want to apologize to Chris for interrupting. That was rude, and I was just trying to get clarification on the process. So I do apologize, Chris. I don't hope he's still here. I'm going to make a comment more on this whole process than anything that was said on this presentation here. Jim, I have copies for the board. The process on Tuesday, there was a great deal made about those 200 meetings for the public. I can't tell you how many of them I attended, but it was a lot. And what's troubling to me is that all those meetings I went to, everybody knows I live in Shingle Springs. I represent the Shingle Springs Community Alliance. Not once, the map that I just handed you, was it mentioned that these zones were being proposed on this corner at Ponderosa and Highway 50, adjacent to residential houses. My property happens to be one of them. Never once was it mentioned that these two corners are being proposed to go up to commercial regional. Never mentioned. That's a very intense use, butting up to residential properties. So the lighter beige color, that's all medium density residential. So it could be 1 to 5 acres size residential. And for some reason in this whole process, suddenly, somewhere, there was a policy made up to change all this to commercial regional, which is very intense. We're talking like Walmart, Costco there. If it didn't butt up to houses, maybe that'd be acceptable. But houses surround the whole thing. I want to know why people weren't notified about this huge change, in use. That just seems really puzzling to me. And honestly, if we had been implementing the current general plan that we have now, we would have been working on this goal 2.4, where we our existing community identities. Shingle Springs has been fighting really hard the last few years to try to get this done. We tried to get a community plan done, and instead we got a process. We tried to get the community region lines shrunk. We thought, in December, the old board that was leaving finally said, yeah, let's do that for you guys. And then we got here, I think in February it was, and this board said, no, we're not doing that, even though that meets your identity better. So there's a huge conflict in what's being proposed in this zoning ordinance update. There's a conflict between what's being proposed and what's on the ground. Some of these parcels that are being proposed for commercial regional, which is very intense, there's little offices, the daycare center. It just doesn't make sense. And I seriously doubt that all these property owners know what's being proposed right next door to them. So I would say that there's been a huge failure to tell people what's really going on here. Even somebody like me, I think you all know, I come here all the time. Somebody could have mentioned it. So I'm asking that you, because of this, you don't adopt this. And if you do push forward with it, I would like all of the commercial properties that are adjacent to residentials to be given one of these lower intensity proposed zones. There's 2 of them that are pretty low intensity. There's commercial professional office, which it says right in here is to be used as a transition between residential and commercial. That would be more appropriate. I could hang with that. And then there's this new one being proposed called commercial limited. It says while minimizing conflicts with residential uses. That one sounds pretty reasonable next door to residential, but not this commercial regional. And I'm really disappointed that we weren't notified about it. And lastly, I'm just going to say that on the page 4 here, supposedly this is the criteria that was used to propose this to happen. But if you look down this map here on page 3, they didn't apply that same policy here at Cambridge, because if they had, all of this would be commercial regional. So I don't understand why one intersection was, proposed one way, and then at the freeway, and it's different. And these ones actually aren't even adjacent to residential homes. So to me, in my mind, it makes more sense to do commercial regional here, but instead it was done next to houses. So I really think that because we found out about this on our own, not at a meeting that we went to try and get information, it makes me wonder what else we are not being told about. And I'm really suspect about this whole thing, and I really think you should consider denying this FEIR. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to comment on this section?